Good evening, everybody, and welcome to part two of Why. I'm Susan Giddings. This is Jonathan Howard, and we are so excited to be back here this week for part two of our series. Now, last week we had a wonderful turnout, and we're so pleased to have seen so many of you in our Zoom room afterwards, and I'm hoping that we're going to see many more of you with us tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan.
All right, Susan, thank you very much. And just like you, I'm really excited to be here tonight. I'm excited for your masterclass because you are going to be laying out all that you need to really have that roadmap to find your why and figure out how to use your why in your business. So I'm excited about that. If you guys haven't had a chance to yet, download that workbook. The link is going to be posted right there in the comments, so you can grab it right now and download it and follow along, take some notes, and use the activities to find your why. So I'm throwing it back over to Susan now.
Thank you, Jonathan. So if you'll bring up the presentation, we'll see if we can get started. All right, everybody, just give me a second here to bring up my notes and let's get going. So tonight in this masterclass, I'm going to take you through how to discover the purpose that will motivate you through all your ups and downs in business. Now, before I start, I want you to know I packed this with a lot of information into a very short period of time. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I just want you guys to sit back tonight and soak it in. You're going to have plenty of time to go over it multiple times if you want with your workbook at your own pace. So, and you'll also be able to reach out to me and Jonathan to get your questions answered. So if you guys are all ready, let's get started. Now, if you've ever faced a significant crisis in your life, then you have experienced the power of purpose. You were able to tap into energy, determination, and a courage you probably didn't even know you had. You, as an entrepreneur, a clear sense of purpose is what enables you to focus your efforts on what matters most, compelling you to take risks and push forward regardless of the obstacles. You know, there are many reasons why people become entrepreneurs. And as you heard in my why last week, I initially became an entrepreneur because I didn't like all the BS and politics in the corporate world. And I felt like I could do better myself. But now that I know my why, my purpose, it drives everything I do. So, what drives you? Hopefully, the reason isn't money, because having money as your core purpose for having a business will not provide you with long-term success. That motivation alone will not push you through the hard times we business owners have to face. And that's why you'll hear career counselors across the country always ask the same question. If money were no object, what would you do? And this applies to entrepreneurs just as well. You know, people rarely become successful by accident. In most cases, people who have amazing businesses or enviable careers, they do so because they're motivated by something much greater than money, fame, or status. They're driven by their purpose in life, otherwise known as their big why. Your why is the driving factor in your life. It's behind everything you do. It's the purpose, cause, or belief that inspires you to action. And it not only applies to your professional life, but your personal life too. Now, to quote Simon Sinek, we don't have a professional why and a personal why. We are who we are wherever we are. Your big why is present and consistent throughout all aspects of your life. It's how you define who you are and why you exist on this planet. However, as we go through life, we tend to take on roles that can disguise our why from others, and very often from ourselves too. And this means that finding your why can be a challenge. Your why is a very personal thing to you, as I'm sure you realized from hearing my story and Jonathan's story. Only you can determine your why. And finding it requires a lot of self-awareness and self-reflection because your why, it's deep inside of you, and the challenge is to reveal it. So let's talk about why you need to uncover your why and what a difference it will make for you and your business. All great leaders have clarity of their why, their undying belief in a purpose or cause bigger than themselves. And purpose is the ultimate differentiator in business. Companies with a strong, defined purpose drive employee engagement, connect deeper with their customers, and they fuel their bottom line. So let's talk about the importance of that for a minute and how that affected me and my publishing company. Now, you heard my story last week that I believed with all my heart that my publications and my business as a whole had a greater good. They helped drive tourism and overall economic development, thereby benefiting the entire community. And because of this sense of greater good, this purpose drove everything I did. And the community connected with that and believed in me and believed that I truly had their best interests in mind. So they supported me in every possible way. Because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Great businesses know why they're doing what they're doing, and they use that mission as their guiding principle. Your why is your central belief. It's the concept that motivates you to get out of bed in the morning. Now, in terms of an organization, it's the reason you're in business. Your goal should be to focus on doing business with people who believe what you believe and to hire people who believe what you believe. So, from an employee standpoint, again, using my publishing company as an example, because everyone was well aware of my philosophy that community service drove everything we did as a company and that our publications made the community a better place, it made us one of the most sought after companies to work for. Now, every year we took a photo for Christmas with a different theme. This one was our ugly sweater photo. And the reason I share this photo of this wonderful group of people, and this isn't even everyone, is because they believed in what we did so much that when I had my heart attack, they all jumped in and each took over something that I usually did to make sure the publications went out, the money got collected, the ads got sold, and the company continued to run. And actually, they saved my company for me. Now, I can assure you, they went well above and beyond. And it was not just to save their jobs. It's because they believed that what we did was important to their community. And they were going to do everything they could to make sure that it did not fail. So now let's talk about the why, how, and what of a business, and how using the golden circle concept that Simon Sinek introduced in 2009 at one of the most popular TED Talks of all time helps give focus to how a business can stand out from its competition by communicating its differences. Now, we included the link to his TED Talk on our business pages and in our groups. I hope you had a chance to watch, but if not, I encourage you to watch it later. So, how does this work? Well, in the golden circle model, the why leads to the how and the what. Because the why is the vision of your company. It's the motivation behind your service or product. It's the mission that you stand for. It's your purpose. The how are the practical steps that you need to take to achieve your why. The how is the operational knowledge that brings the vision to life. And the what is the product or service you're selling. It's the tangible part of your company. Now, the whats are typically the easiest to identify because every organization on the planet knows what they do. These are the products or services a company sells. Now, the hows, they can be a little more difficult to identify. Hows, quite literally, are how things get done. Some would call them systems or processes. It could even be a strategy. It's the things that make them special or set them apart from the competition. But the why is where things get really fuzzy for most people. And many can't really tell you why they do what they do. Some would say to make money, but that is a result. It is not a why. Why is a purpose, cause, or belief. It's the very reason your business exists. Now, unfortunately, most businesses don't start with why. And that's because starting with the why is hard. It involves a lot of introspection, inspiration, vision, and clarity. So instead, most companies start with the what, the products they sell or the services they offer, because it is the most superficial layer and it's the easiest to identify and communicate. It's what their customers ask for. They ask for things like great quality, low price, 24-hour service, and lots of features. But actually, if you make your business decisions based only on what focus groups and questionnaires and your customers say, and not based on your why, it's likely you will not create a truly impactful business. Now, I want to be clear here. This does not mean that you will not be successful. It means that it'll be harder for you to reach a more impactful level. A perfect example of this is this quote from Henry Ford. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. So now I'd like to share with you the story of the Wright brothers. Not many people know that the Wright brothers were not the only ones working on a flying machine. In fact, Samuel Langley, who among other things was an inventor and a mathematician and a pioneer in aviation, he was given a $50,000 grant from the War Department to fund his project. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. That was a lot of money back in those days, almost 1.5 million in today's dollars. And he used it to pull together the best minds of the day and use the finest materials. Now, the Wright brothers, on the other hand, had no college education, no one to fund their project. Their team of friends and neighbors, they worked out of their bicycle shop, and they spent less than $1,000, about $28,000 in today's dollars. And, I think we all know how this story ends, right? Langley's flying machine was launched from a catapult and fell like a sack of cement in the Potomac River. The Wright brothers flew the first successful airplane a month later on December 17, 1903. Now, both teams were highly motivated. They had excellent work ethics and had a common goal. So, what did the Wright brothers have that Langley didn't? Well, the Wright brothers were able to inspire those around them and truly lead their team to develop a technology that would change the world. Because they grew up in a family where they were encouraged to pursue their intellectual curiosity and look to the greater good without any thought of profit. While Langley and his team, they were focused on fame and money. Only the Wright brothers started with why. So, what happens when you get clear on your why? When you discover your big why and make it the core mission, vision, and motivation of your business, it will fuel your success on whatever path you choose. In part 1 last week, Jonathan shared his why and only touched on this story. So let me share with you what happened when Jonathan tested out his why, the power of stories, on his first client. Now, his client, Cody, was having little success with his garden center. None of the traditional social media strategies Jonathan was applying were making a difference. Cody had a great product, but it didn't matter. It wasn't enough to make him stand out from everyone else. But Cody had a great personality and he loved his plans. So Jonathan thought that if he found success through telling his story, maybe the power of stories could help Cody too. So they pivoted to have Cody tell his story and include the plants, and his love of them shone through because plants were Cody's why. And it catapulted his brand into the local limelight and success. And that's when Jonathan discovered that stories have the same impact on a business as they can with a social issue, and made it the core mission of his business. Because why is the reason that people buy. It's what creates the trust and the loyalty. We want to be around people and organizations who are like us and share our beliefs. Customers feel a sense of affiliation, right? Look at Harley Davidson, for example, the world's most iconic motorcycle brand. Now, my husband and I were Harley riders up until we were forced to give it up because of health issues. Our dogs rode with us and rocked the clothes just as much as we did. We rode every single weekend with our group or alone. And the photo on the bottom left is actually a photo of my last motorcycle, a Harley Custom V-Rod. Harley built a cult following, a community of enthusiasts around its brand, making it the centerpiece of a lifestyle. So now, let's talk a little bit about your big why. I'm sure many of you watching are not yet connected to your big why. So how can you be sure if you are or you're not? Well, here are some clues. You make plans, but you leave things unfinished. You start projects, but you never complete them. You set goals, but you don't follow through on them. You have a to-do list that you never complete. Or you set up a strategy for your business, but you don't act on it consistently. So if you've ever wondered why you never finish what you start or don't bother starting at all, now you have the answer. You don't have a compelling enough reason to follow through. So in other words, you aren't connected to your big why. Now, let's look at some benefits of knowing your why and expressing it in your business. You'll have clarity in getting your message across to attract customers and clients. You'll develop stronger, more meaningful connections with customers than just based on features and benefits. You'll have a better understanding of what drives your behavior when you're at your best. You'll make intentional choices for your business and your life, and you'll be able to inspire others to buy from you, work with you, and to join your cause. So, just how do you go about discovering your why? Well, I'll share with you here some steps you can take to start. And in the workbook that we created for you, you'll find all the exercises I go over here in this section of the presentation and a little extra to help you dig deep and discover your why. Now, for those of you who may have come in late, there is a link to the workbook in the chat. Now, keep in mind, the path to discovering your why can be a long one. I mean, after all, it took me 20 years, but I had no idea I actually needed one or the difference it would make when I found it. You guys, on the other hand, you're luckier than I was because Jonathan and I were giving you a roadmap. So it won't take you anywhere near that long, but you do need to give yourself some time to work through it. Your life story is continuously unfolding, and each major event, decision, relationship, success, and mishap has an influence on which direction it takes. Now, that's why Jonathan and I shared our stories with you in part 1, so that you could see how the events in our lives led to the discovery of our passion and purpose in completely different ways, and how our lives and businesses changed when our big whys became the mission and purpose of our businesses. And do you ever have moments where you look back on past events and marvel at how far you've come? Or stop to think about the most pivotal milestones your life so far? I know when I look back a couple of years into owning the publishing company, marveling about how amazing my life and my business was, that's when everything clicked for me. And I realized that everything I had done up until I had bought the magazine had prepared me to be successful at this. But I hadn't realized it until I looked back. And that's when I realized I was living and breathing my why. So when you reflect back on these things and look at your past experiences, you can reveal defining moments in your life and uncover themes or patterns. And if you're like most people, you'll think of the disasters and the crises, but you won't necessarily see the many positives. But guys, you need to think about both. Now, to help you reflect, you can create a personal timeline. A personal timeline is a graph or diagram that visualizes significant moments in your life. It highlights the events, both positive and negative, that have led to who you are today. And again, in the workbook, we share with you how to create your own and some questions to ask yourself. And one of the things you can look at when you reflect back is, what was the core challenge you faced in your life? While we have all had varied challenges that we have faced and conquered throughout our lives, there's always one that's recurring and has significance in our lives. Now, you'll need to do some digging, think through your childhood, teenage years, college, then all the jobs you've had or currently have, businesses, etc. Once you figure out what the challenge is, you have the makings of your purpose. The key is to ensure that you are in some way helping others with that specific challenge. So to illustrate that for you, let me share with you Tim's story. Tim was ambitious from an early age and was a quick learner and a hard worker. He worked in his father's business, but was always looking up to him for advice and support. But his father never gave it to him. And Tim's the type of person that is motivated by feedback and support. So over the course of his life, he was able to find that support from other people that he never got from his dad. Now, Tim is fulfilled when he can help other people see their potential and then support them in a way that will help them make the most of it. He took his core challenge and he turned it around to help others with the same challenge. Tim now knows that if he is mentoring people on his team or others, he has a deep sense of purpose in his life and in his work. So when you start to reconnect with your past experiences, it will put you on the road towards discovering your why. Next, let's talk a little bit about how to connect with the true passions of your life so you can feel empowered and free to find and embrace your big why. So what are passions? Well, a passion can be defined as something you could do for hours and hours without getting tired, and that you'd be happy to do even if you weren't being paid for it. So, for example, I was volunteering at the Chamber to help with economic development and to advocate for our small businesses so that they could grow and prosper. I put hours and hours into it and loved every minute, even though I never got paid. People who are engaged in an activity in which they truly believe or which really satisfies them are more fulfilled and content than others. Passion is the fuel that can power you towards the realization of your dreams and achievement of your why. But before you can tap into it, you need to define just what passion is for you. Now, as I'm sure you know, some people have a calling that strongly attracted them to follow a specific profession from a very early age, such as a musician, an athlete, an actor, or a doctor. But most people don't fall neatly into that category, and their path isn't as clearly defined. I know mine wasn't, and neither was Jonathan's. So here are 10 passion questions you can ask yourself. And don't worry, this is all included in your workbook. So, what dreams did I have as a child? What happened to those dreams? What do I love to do that I would do even if I didn't get paid for it? What activities make me lose track of time? What do I do that energizes and motivates me? What makes me feel great about myself? What do other people say I'm good at? Who inspires me the most and how do they do that? What am I passionate about right now? And what is non negotiable in my life? Now, after you've answered these questions, look back at your answers. Can you identify any themes or patterns emerging? One question that's often asked is, but can I make a living out of my passion? So let's look at two well known tech examples. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, said, people with passion can change the world for the better. And he certainly went ahead and put his passion into action. And then there's Mark Zuckerberg, who launched Facebook from his Harvard dorm room in 2004 just for fun. And look how that turned out. There are countless other instances from other sectors, such as Tamara Mellon, a high school dropout and rehab graduate, whose passion for accessories led her into co-founding Jimmy Choo, a ready-to-wear shoe company for the high-end market. And later, she went on to create her own brand of luxury shoes and bags. These and many others show people following what they loved and achieving success. For most of these examples, money wasn't their primary objective, although many ended up millionaires. They were driven by their why and a strong passion for their chosen field. The money was simply a byproduct. So far, we've walked through how you'll reflect on your past and think about your present. So now it's time to get clear on what your why is so that you can use it to fuel your future. Now, I'm sure you've asked yourself, why am I here? Or what am I meant to be doing? Some people have a very clear view that they have a role to play, even though they may not know what it is yet. The first step is to identify what you find easy. Now, generally speaking, we tend to focus on the tasks we struggle with, but we all have things we find really easy. We often take these for granted and think they're no big deal. We say to ourselves, if I can do this, then anybody can do this. But that's not true. It's part of your uniqueness. And by sharing this talent, you can bring great value to others. Now, for example, if you're someone who's very organized and who can put systems in place to ensure your life and your business run smoothly, you may not think this is anything special. But to a person who doesn't have this talent, they will be willing to pay to have you come in and organize their office or their home for them. So think carefully about all the things you do and have done in your life and write down what you found easy. Now, next, you need to identify your core values. Your core values are the basic principles that we as human beings know to be right and just. We don't need to be told these values by someone else because we've always known them to be true. Without values, we wouldn't exist as the people we are. We would be like robots, responding to the moment or driven by whatever comes along. We wouldn't have purpose or direction. Now, here are some common examples of core values: commitment, authenticity, integrity, honesty, compassion, determination, and kindness. When you live in alignment with your values, your life develops real purpose. You set out on your personal mission, living true to yourself and your highest aspirations. In other words, you're in a position to achieve your why. And we need to express our values in all aspects of our lives for us to feel truly whole. When we develop a close connection with someone, it's usually because they share our values. Because when you're out of alignment with your values, you'll feel uncomfortable, uneasy, or out of place. And you may not always be sure of the reason, which is why some people sometimes say, I feel like a square peg in a round hole. Now, one of the ways you can drill down into your why is by using the 5 whys. This exercise can help you form a definition of your personal why. And you'll find this exercise in the workbook that we made for you. It's simple, it's very powerful, and it works like this. Ask yourself why you do what you do. Take the answer you gave and ask 5 whys in succession. So here's an example. I do what I do because I want to make a good income. Why number 1? Why do you want to make a good income? Because then all my bills would be paid, and that will allow me to pick and choose the work I really want to do. Why number 2? Why do you want to be able to choose the work? Because then I could create my own schedule and have more time. Why number 3? Why do you want to have more time? Because I could spend more time with my kids. Why number 4? Well, why do you want to spend more time with your kids? Because I feel like I'm missing out on their growing up because I'm spending so much of my time working in my business. And why number 5? Why are you spending so much time working in your business? Because I need to prove to myself that what I'm doing is valuable. So as you can see, there's a world of difference between the presenting problem, I want to bring in a good income, and the resulting, I need to prove to myself that what I'm doing is valuable. Now, in this case, the person's why is about contribution and self-esteem. Now, of course, this conversation could have gone in many directions at any point. So it's very important that when you try this exercise for yourself, you don't overthink your answers. Write down what pops into your head right away. You may need to repeat the exercise several times until you get an aha moment, and that's fine. You have to dig deep. But when you get down to the why that rings true for you, it will feel absolutely right. So now the time has come for me to bring this all full circle. As Mark Twain famously said, the 2 most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. We know that your big why will be different from my big why because whatever your big why is, it will be personal and it may have a profound meaning for you. Now, my big why is the need to help entrepreneurs cut through all the online BS so that they can learn how to build a real profitable, sustainable business that fulfills their passion and their dreams and helps drive the economic growth of the world. And Jonathan's big why is to help empower and inspire entrepreneurs to use their stories to intimately connect with their audience in a uniquely personal way that instantly resonates with them. Knowing our big why is what eventually leads us to reach a totally different level of success. People who know their purpose in life are unstoppable. It becomes easier to stay focused on what matters the most and stay away from the distractions and shiny objects. It helps you live your life with integrity, true to your core values. So let me ask you this. Why did you decide to become an entrepreneur? Why do you spend far too many hours working just so you can see your business grow? Well, whatever it is, your big why should be the driving force behind every action you take. Whenever you're taking on a new client, ask yourself if it's aligned with your big why. When you're setting goals for the year, ask yourself if these goals are moving you closer or further away from your big why. You need to always make sure everything you do is in alignment with your big why. So let me share our final thoughts with you about how our why motivates us and provides our purpose and passion to serve our clients, while also allowing us to stand out from our competition by clearly communicating our differences. Jonathan says, as a social media manager, I could take on hundreds of general and generic clients, provide them with cookie cutter content, and make lots and lots of money. But that's not what gets me up in the morning. I could care less about churning out generic content just so I can make money. Rather, I prefer to continually push small and local businesses to tell their winning story, because that is what I know will really make the difference for them. And my feelings about why I do what I do are the same. I could make lots of money promoting hyped quick fixes and overnight 7-figure success. But that's all BS, and I'm not here to promote nonsense silver bullet solutions just so I can take your money. I'm all about teaching entrepreneurs and small businesses how to achieve real results by implementing time-proven business strategies, because I know that there are no shortcuts to success. Only a commitment to being in it for the long haul and doing the hard work will build a sustainable business. So with all that being said, I'd like to close with one of my favorite quotes. You can only become truly accomplished at something you love. Don't make money your goal. Instead, pursue the things you love doing, and then do them so well that people can't take their eyes off you.
So Susan, that was a really, really informative masterclass. You went through so much information for everybody.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, and I hope everybody remembers, in case you didn't jump on right at the beginning, it is a lot of stuff, and it wasn't meant for you to really, absorb everything completely in one sitting. That's why we gave you the workbook. So just take your time, watch it again, watch it a couple times, and work through with the workbook. It'll make it all come together so much easier for you. And now I want to remind you, next week is part 3 of why, and this time it's Jonathan's turn to do the masterclass, and he's going to take everything we've done in part 1 and part 2 so far and tie it all together with you to understand how you can use all this in your social media. So I'm going to toss it back to Jonathan, and Jonathan, tell us what we've got next.
So, of course, what we have next is we're heading into the Zoom room, where we will be going over and answering your questions, because we want to make sure that we can help you find your why and move along in this process. So there is the Zoom room number and the Zoom room password. Then we will be including the link right in the comments so that you can join us over there. Hope to see you in a few seconds.
See you soon.
See you soon, guys.